Yo, what's going on, guys? Jared here. Very quickly, I actually wanted to talk about the upcoming ban list. It is right now. It is August 24th. We are most likely going to have a ban list announced within the next 2 to 3 days, probably sometime next week. So I actually wanted to give a little bit on my take of where I think this ban list is going to lead to and what's going to happen. A lot of people are saying that this ban list has to be pretty much like a nuclear ban list, but I don't really believe that actually. I think that only a couple of things really need to be addressed, and then everything else that is from the beneath Snake Eye and Ubel can get risen up a little bit. And I'm going to show you what I mean a little bit when I get into the hits. But before we get into it, I just want to ask you guys, what do you guys think has to get hit on the ban list? Because I think Konami is usually pretty conservative with their hits most of the time. And it might not be as crazy as you may think to actually bring this game to a healthy standpoint of where I think it should be. So yeah. Let me know what you think down below. I would greatly appreciate it. And let's go ahead and jump right into this. Okay, so starting off with, I want to address Snake Eye. I think that is obviously the deck to beat, and I think it's the most important thing that we need to discuss. And the only thing I actually think need for Snake Eye to happen mainly is Flameberg's being banned. This card does way too much in one card. Obviously, when it was released, it wasn't that big of a deal. The deck didn't do anything, but that's because of Poplar and Princess coming out. Now this deck has so much more access to this card and like just ways to abuse it and use it, and the amount of bodies that this gives, the fact that it's an extender, interruption, board breaker, it's just everything all at once. This card, you use it on your turn one, then you get to use it on your opponent's turn, on their turn, then you get to bring it back to your turn, then you get to use it again on your turn. That is 6 bodies in itself, arguably 7 to 8 if you're including itself. The 6 bodies are just free that you don't have to do anything for, and those bodies also search you more follow-up. It's just way too much for one card. And I think that this card really needs to go. It cannot go to 1. It just ban it. And I think Snake Eye is actually in a pretty okay position because you do not get the follow-up that you used to get, and you also lose out on a lot of the power and extra bodies that you used to get as well. So I think that would actually put Snake Eye in itself in a good situation. The only other card that I think not only other card from the main deck that I think needs to get banned is Skill Drain specifically. I think this card is just absurd. Nobody really likes this card, and realistically I think this is the only other card that would get banned is Skill Drain, but knowing Konami, they're really like putting Floodgates to 1 for some reason, so Skill Drain might just go back to 1, but I really don't like that Skill Drain is being abused in things like Snake Eye and White Forest to be able to send it. You do your play, you set Skill Drain, go, you Skill Drain them, then when it goes back to your turn, you just send it with a card effect and then be able to continue playing anyway and combo and kill them. It's not fun. It just makes not real games occur, and we're not really a fan of those. So overall, if a floodgate is flipped, I would rather have both players be affected by that floodgate and not be able to turn it off whenever you want. So yeah, Skill Drain I think was a mistake putting at 3, of course, and it just should never have been there in the first place. So I think we can roll back on Skill Drain at least to 1 minimum, but I would ideally like to see it banned. So that's it for the main deck of what I actually think could get banned. For the extra deck, what I think could get banned, this list is actually a little bit bigger. Or no, it's actually just 2 cards still, or 3 cards. There's 3 extra deck cards I think need to get banned. I'll do the obvious one first, being Beatrice. Beatrice is just an absurd card with the Fiendsmith cards. Level 6s are just being way too easily accessible. And the real problem with this card is being able to use it for the nonsense cards, right? This kind of leads back to the Skill Drain argument, being able to send things like the Tears card to be able to set things like Dimensional Barrier and Different Dimension Grounds. Like, we don't want to do that. Even I was doing a Reversal Quiz FTK, and that's only possible because of something like Beatrice existing. This card being able to get into Engine like through a Fiendsmith line it's cool, but I don't like it either. Like, I would rather have Fiendsmith kind of do its own thing in a deck, like maybe make up some kind of interruptions or different type of scenarios or board breaking capabilities, but not be able to directly branch into the other archetypes. While it is cool, is it exactly healthy? I don't know. I don't think giving every deck like an extra 6 starters essentially is exactly healthy in my opinion. So I think Beatrice just has to go for all of the above reasons, not just the one, being able to get non-engine as well. Even sending things like Black Goat Laughs as well is just crazy. This card just obviously has to go. It's not even debatable. Appaloosa, I think this another card that I think time has just really made this card worse and worse. I'm really tired of end boards just always going for Appo, especially with something like Fiendsmith in the meta. You are just pretty much turboing out to Appo to play around Nibiru, and then whatever else your deck does, you just get to do it for free. And I'm not a fan of that. Like, we don't want to do that type of gameplay. Every game's going to start looking the same. If that is how if this card's not banned, that's just how the game's going to look, right? Every deck's going to go pitch engraver, go for Appo. Okay, now that Appo's established, we can do whatever other combo we want to do, depending on whatever deck you want to play. It's the same thing for every deck, and we're not really a big fan of those. And I think it's kind of just ruins the healthiness of the game. So I think Appo has had its time. You could even argue an IP Masquerena or SP Little Knight in this slot to go along with Appo, but I realistically don't think those are going to get touched. I think Appo is the main problem, being too oppressive against hand traps for combo decks where they can just make this so easily. It's actually terrifying. The third card I think actually has to get banned is Yama. And this can be interchangeable with Sharvara, but I don't want Sharvara to get banned. I don't know, like either one of them can get banned. Just the fact that this card makes the Fiendsmith engine do a lot of interruptions. I mean a lot. You can do way too many interruptions with this. I really don't like it. I don't like that just Fiendsmith by itself can be like Rage into Little Knight with a Desert Eye Ray. It's like pretty close to that if you have like a normal summon, I think. And that's just like, it's just too much for a side engine. I just think Yama can bridge way too easily into everything. I feel so bad for this because Unchained is a really cool deck. And it just sucks that this card didn't say it needs an Unchained monster to make it. It's instead locked to just Fiends. And because of that, it just is going to get used and abused for Fiendsmith. Probably until it's banned or until Sharvara is banned. It's really unfortunate, but I think this card does have to go. Even like Muskets, Fiendsmith, and yeah, just everything. Everything can just use it. There's no reason not to play them. It's just too good. So that is it for the banned extra deck cards. For cards I think are going to go to 1 that are in the main deck is Wanted. So I remember I said earlier that the only real hit that Snake Eye needs is Flameberg's Dragon to really put it down to level to where it needs to be. Flameberg's Dragon, or what's it called, Wanted being going to 1, actually is not even for Snake Eye currently. Obviously, it would help hitting the consistency just a little bit, but that's not the reason it would go to 1. The reason I wanted to go to 1 is because in preparation for the next set, where we are getting the Fusion archetype, I don't remember their name, but Wanted and Diabel is like a 1-card combo into, interruption and interaction, to essentially kind of be an Appo in its own way, and I don't want every turn to start off with Diabel or Wanted into that combo. I definitely would rather not see that. And Wanted in itself, if you have played with these cards, Wanted is so broken. Like, it's just such a feels good card because you get to turn a card in your hand that would normally be dead into something of value through Diabel Star, and then you even get that card back in the form of a draw with the Wanted later on in the turn. And then God forbid you have a continuous card that you could use to then get even more value out of something like the original or the Diabel. You don't even have to commit to anything. It's just really strong. And I think Wanted in itself, the draw is just a little too much, and I think it should just be at 1 for that reason. I don't think original needs to get banned or anything like that. Just Wanted going to 1, just because the package itself is so strong and it's been around the game for a long time. It just doesn't need to be here anymore. The only other thing going to 1 that I think has to go to 1 in the main deck is either Sunun Summoning or Sunun Kaiman. I am okay with either of these going to 1. I don't think both need to go to 1. A lot of people are saying Sunun Summoning, but I also think Sunun Kaiman is a fine choice because if you just draw an Ash Blossom against Tenpai and you have it, and they only have 1 Sunun Kaiman, you're okay once they use it and you just Ash it, and you feel a lot stronger about it. Anyone who has built Tenpai knows that Tenpai's deck building is just crazy. You literally get to play 20 engine pieces with 1 brick and then 20 non-engine pieces, and it's just ridiculous from a deck building standpoint. And I think that those numbers need to be shifted a little bit to at least start chipping away at the consistency just a tiny bit, or just at least if you, in the form of putting Sunun Summoning the 1, at least let the interactability play more of a role so that you're not just going like Sunun Summoning, Summon Pydra, and then your opponent just looking at an Effect Veiler in their hand and a Nibiru, and they can't do anything about it, and it really sucks. Even something like Imperm in their hand, like they just can't do anything. Or on the field, I should say. Like, yeah, you could use it in the battle phase, but like, if it's the battle phase, it's already too late, right? You want to prevent them from getting to the Sunun Kaiman, not letting everything resolve because of Sunun Summoning. It's just too much. And I think one of these cards need to go to 1 specifically, again, just because of the deck building. It's crazy. The only other card I think that needs to go to 1 and that probably should go to 1 is actually Phantom of Ubel. This card's just way too free. It's just too free. Do I think it's going to go to 1 this list? Probably not. It's too new. But realistically, this card is just bonkers. The fact that like you can just keep going and comboing with it and still getting into more Ubels and Phantoms and stuff, and just getting like as you're comboing, you get to go like Phantom, use it as a combo piece, or hold it for playing through hand traps, and then just slam down more of them later. It's just too easy. It's too easily accessible. I'd rather have the Ubel deck have to think a little bit and put some kind of effort behind their Phantom Ubels and when to use them. Also being able to like maybe incorporate some kind of cool recyclability with this card, maybe in the form of like of the Yugioh cards, going for like Rebellion and Regain, and like banishing the Phantom off of a Yugioh monster, then putting it back, then making it again. Like I think that would be cool. Just some form of actual usage to restrict it just a little bit, because it's just too free. Like every time, even like if Ubel draws bad, usually they could still just like slam Phantoms down, and then like that Phantom sets up for the next Phantom, which sets up to the next Phantom, and like sometimes that's just enough. If they draw bad with like hand traps and like their bricks, that could still just win a game, and they can stall out long enough, because it's so frustrating dealing with all these Phantom Ubels. So I think this card should, in my opinion, should just go to 1. Cards that I want banned that I don't think are going to get banned for some reason, because Konami just seems to not hit them, because it's just been so long and we've complained about them for so long that I don't think they're going to ban them, because they've had so much opportunity to do it and they've refused to do it. And that being Calamity Shifter and Sanctifier. All 3 of these cards promote games that are just auto losses if you don't draw the out, and I really don't like that. It's especially Shifter right now. Like Centurion's like really bad if you don't have Calamity, so like I kind of understand that, and most things actually beat that if you're competent enough versus Centurion. Albion the Shrouded, the Sanctifier Dragon, is like definitely really, really bad. But again, like Bystials and stuff can really help in that matchup, but it's still like toxic and I don't want it in my game. Shifter specifically, there was like almost 0 counterplay to this card, and especially with the game direction that we're going towards with the Malice archetype. If you have not seen those cards, they are an extremely strong Cybers archetype that actually gets buffed with Dimension Shifter in its deck, so it kind of like pushes up itself along with like other Shifter decks, and then pushes down like non-Shifter decks and graveyard reliant decks. So the reason I don't like this is because playing Kashtira format was like super miserable if you specifically were not playing Kashtira, and even Kashtira is not a fun deck. Like that's not a fun deck to play, and it was only worse because of Shifter. And you would think like, oh, the Shifter decks is the best deck, right? Kashtira was the best deck in that format, and people were still maining Shifter. And the reason for that, because it's a literal buy, it's a free win if you go against the not mirror match, and it's going to be the same thing with Malice, and I don't see that changing. I don't want to play against a bunch of Malice decks that are main decking Shifter. It's either you play Malice to make the Shifter dead, or you play against not Malice and you get FTK'd by Shifter. It's just really not healthy and good game design in my opinion. I just think this one specifically, God, this card needs to go. It's so bad. It's just not fun at all. So that is everything I think that should get hit, or my wishful thinking thing as well. I really don't think anything else needs to get hit. Like I'm trying to be as conservative as possible, and I really think that's it. That's all we really need. And then the format is kind of in a nice, diverse mesh pool of a lot of stuff. And then plus with the new stuff coming out, it also gives it a chance to compete. Like the other decks in that deck building set are very cool, and I would rather have them be able to stand up to a lot of these other archetypes, where as of now, I think they're just going to get slapped down, because as long as Shifter's in the meta, those decks just don't work. Or like, not don't work, it's just that you can just have like blank games because this card exists, and Malice is just going to smack everything around. So, yeah, that is it for the ban list. I think for now is what we need, because again, future of Yugioh, looking into future sets, seems to be a good direction where I think it could go, and will be in an okay position. So let me know what you guys think down below, what should get hit, shouldn't hit, and what you guys think about the new decks coming out and how they're going to interact with things that may be coming on or off the ban list. So we'll see how we do this upcoming week with how our predictions go. But until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.